The streak is alive for the Baltimore Ravens, their 21st straight preseason victory. They defeat the Tennessee Titans. We've got Giants and Patriots as well. Looking ahead to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, preseason week 1 football on today's Peacock and Williamson.
You're listening to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show, your daily podcast on the National Football League, powered by the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the Peacock and Williamson NFL Show. Brian Peacock and Matt Williamson at BD Peacock at Williamson NFL. Thanks for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Preseason football is here, and it was kind of fun seeing guys like Willis out there on the field, Bailey Zappi, the rookie quarterbacks, and maybe something to take away from it. Let's start with Ravens and Titans. The scores don't matter, but it was 23-10 Ravens, and they continue to win preseason games. I don't know if that's a John Harbaugh thing or if it's just completely by accident, but Tyler Huntley looked pretty good out there as a solid number 2 for your superstar quarterback in Lamar Jackson. Maybe Tyler Huntley making a couple bucks for him as a free agent at some point in the future, but right now, you really feel good about him as a backup quarterback. He was 16 of 18. It just feels like he runs the offense efficiently.
Yeah, he has looked good pretty much every step of the way. I'm not giving him a hard time. I mean, because people I thought got a little ahead of themselves last year with him. If you go back and study the Ravens offense when he was in versus Lamar, it was a lot more horizontal passing, less, driving the ball down the field. But last night, the ball only hit the ground twice. I mean, again, it was only for 109 yards. But he's efficient. He's a runner. I think he's like the ideal backup for Jackson. And why I say, I thought people got ahead of themselves was I heard a lot of, boy, he's better than what 8 to 10 teams have out there. He should be a starter somewhere. I'm like, I'm not sure about that. I'm not getting that crazy. But I also thought their running back distribution was interesting. They had a lot of guys that had multiple carries with Dobbins out and Edwards out. The Dobbins news sounds pretty good. And then, they didn't play all their studs, but Isaiah Likely is, a mid-round tight end, 4th-round tight end. It's gotten a lot of buzz in camp. I thought he was one of their more impressive guys too. So mixed feelings on this Ravens streak, cool. I think, installing winning is always a good thing. But they were the most injured team in the league last year by a wide margin. If they would have scaled it back a little in the preseason, would that have been the case? I'm just playing devil's advocate,
No, it's a good question. And man, this Ravens rookie class, Isaiah Likely shows up as he was a 4th-round pick, right?
Yes. There were 2 of them, yeah.
His tape was better than his workouts. His workouts were awful. And I think that's why he slid a little bit. And then you realize, he's a pretty good football player. That's why his tape was good. And so they might have found a little something there in Isaiah Likely. He looked natural, just catches the ball and gets open, not physically imposing, not height, speed, weight guy, but
no.
He's good. He's a good football player. Another good football player, and another looks like a steal from this rookie class was Travis Jones. Just seeing how big he is and moving around, and for him to have fallen to the 3rd round this year, I think that was a testament to the depth of this draft because I thought he was a high 2nd-round pick. I wouldn't have been shocked if he got snagged at the end of the 1st round in the draft. The fact that he was there for the Ravens in round 3, had a nice little tackle for loss, seeing him range out there at his size as well. I think they found something long-term on the interior of their D-line with Travis Jones.
Glad you brought him up because it made no sense to me whatsoever why he would fall the way he did. And I understand that nose tackles aren't as desired, and there's a lot of teams that aren't after that style of defensive lineman anymore. But he's a pocket pusher. He's a mover. There was much debate about Jordan Davis. How high should he go? How many snaps will he ultimately play? But Jones is not that different from Jordan Davis, in my opinion, and to get him that much later than Davis, and the Ravens have always stressed having a lot of physicality and beef on their defensive line, more so than interior pass rushers. I mean, they had to be doing jumping jacks to land him.
We got to move on here because we do want to
Yeah.
preview at least one player we're looking for, something that we're excited to see with each team here in these preseason games on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Mike Davis, though, he just seems like the guy that won't go away, and I wouldn't fault you for adding him to any of your fantasy football teams, because he's a professional running back.
Yeah.
And with the injuries in front of him, Mike Davis could be one of those guys at the end of the year where he's way more valuable than anyone gives credit, which has been his entire career.
Yeah, I mean, 1 year ago, he was a hot fantasy name that was going in like the 4th or 5th round, and he wasn't impressive with the Falcons, but nothing was really impressive with the Falcons, including their offensive line. If you give him a shot, I think he could be a quality dude. I mean, especially if Gus the Bus takes a little while to get back at it. And, real quick on the Tennessee side, I was happy to see Willis, no doubt about it. Did you notice how they used Burks? They used him very late in the game, but he didn't come in immediately. It felt like it was a conditioning test for him. Let's just keep running snaps, running routes.
I'm out on Burks as far as like a year one fantasy guy, even though the path is so clear for him and the talent was there, and I liked him as a prospect. It's just the way they're treating him, the early camp hiccups.
It's a little worrisome.
Yeah, he's sort of an afterthought there, it seems like, in that offense. Malik Willis was like he was. It was amazing seeing him embody his scouting report, like the good and the bad.
Yeah, right.
He was 6 of 11, 107 yards. He had a nice downfield throw. You could see the athleticism. You could see the arm. He had the rushing touchdown, 5 carries for 38 yards. So you see some of the physical ability. Then you see just like bad throws rolling out, and like he can't hit his fullback that's 10 feet in front of him, kind of throws it behind him. He almost throws a pick on just a bad read. And so that's sort of, and that was the thing coming out for him, was like, look, simplistic offense at Liberty in college, and, reading the safeties, reading the defenses. That's going to be the big thing for him. And we saw that too.
Yeah, I think he's one of the most interesting players in the entire league for preseason. And if he passes these 3 preseason tests, I could see a pseudo rookie Lamar package for him, basically a running quarterback package for 5 plays a game for Tennessee. And part of that is because I think Tennessee's offense is really going to struggle, and they're going to need to create offense with any cheat code they possibly could. But the more and more homework I've done on Willis post-draft, many think that if he's even in the starting conversation next year, that's a little ahead of the curve considering where he came from in college and what he was asked to do.
The Titans RB2 situation is really interesting too. And Hassan Haskins is the rookie that I kind of bought into because I traded in our Locked On Dynasty League. I traded for Derrick Henry from you. And so I drafted in the rookie draft Hassan Haskins. I assume he's going to be the guy. I did like what I saw from him. The production wasn't great in this game. Julius Chestnut had a nice run. He's a big back too. So that's definitely something to keep watching here in the preseason games, is how they utilize their other running backs behind Derrick Henry, who's the guy you want to own in your fantasy team if you want that handcuff.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's a small injury at play or not, but I do think it's noteworthy that if you're sitting your top guys, they didn't play Hilliard. So maybe Hilliard's, clearly the 2 or clearly the complement, and Haskins and Joey Chestnut here are fighting for that 3rd spot.
Let's move on to Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Matt, unless you have any other notes here, do you want to talk about the rookie
Giants,
the Baltimore Ravens?
Let's talk a little Giants, Patriots here.
Giants. Oh yeah, Giants Patriots here is interesting in that Daniel Jones got some run. Reports have been bad out of camp. I didn't see much that I was like, okay, Daniel Jones, this is his year. Tyrod Taylor, the backup, sort of in the journeyman mold now as the backup. I don't know how much you want to take out of this game, but
not a ton. I mean, I just wanted to touch on the Giants had their ones out there for a pretty substantial, go of things. Saquon Barkley, I think, played like 15 snaps, give or take. And, Jones was out there for 2 series, I think it was. And the Patriots rested all their top guys. But the Giants at least moved the football. I mean, that told me Dayball isn't just resting on his laurels. You guys are the starters. You'll be fine. We'll rest you. It's more like we need all the work we can get. I also thought that the rookie receiver,
Mondale?
Yes. And he looked like he's going to be a major contributor from them right out of the gate. Tony was absent for this one. Shepard, of course, was banged up. So I do think that offense is kind of interesting. Both their premier tackles played a fair amount. And then for New England, I don't know what to really take of this. I mean, you got Bailey Zappi and Brian Hoyer out there, and they didn't play their top backs. I mean, J.J. Taylor kind of was the bell cow until the very end when Strong came in. So, we'll see. They missed Thornton on a long ball that could have been completed that I saw. But all in all, I mean, there wasn't a ton to take away from this one.
Yeah, Thornton did have the back of the end zone touchdown where he kind of got loose, little scramble drill touchdown from Brian Hoyer. Bailey Zappi played a ton, threw the ball 32 times, 19 completions. Yeah. Looks okay. He looks like the next Brian Hoyer, essentially. Maybe he's got a little bit more to him than Brian Hoyer, because Brian Hoyer's never been super physically gifted. Do you just keep all three guys? Do you want to have the question there is, do you want to have a rookie backing up a second-year quarterback? So you kind of got to keep all three quarterbacks at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Brian Hoyer is one of the very few remaining quarterbacks that I watched high school tape of when I was at Pitt. So
wow.
That means he's not long for this world.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco, Hoyer, I can't remember too many others. Henny, where I watched their high school tape. So that means you're an old man, because I'm certainly an old man. Did you catch this though? I read it after the fact this morning. I think Matt Patricia called all the plays for Hoyer, and then Judge called all the plays for Zappi. Like, this is weird.
I don't know what's going on there.
Right.
Like that is, neither one of them are offensive coordinators. So have fun with that. I have no idea.
Yeah, the answer might be neither.
Neither one of those quarterbacks are going to be playing. So, what can you even take away from who they're calling plays for? It's going to be Mac Jones out there. I don't know. They're both getting. It's weird. It's weird. It seems like
it is weird. And Belichick gets a pass for everything, but eventually he's going to screw up, and it might be now.
I thought interesting, just this sort of battle on the roster and the New York Giants for what the receiver group is going to be, what the depth chart is going to be, who's going to make the team. Richie James had a big camp. He had a touchdown in this one. Colin Johnson was targeted a bunch of times, but then had the drop that turned into a pick. Darius Slayton was a guy that everyone was excited about a couple years ago and has kind of fallen all the way down the depth chart. I don't know if he's going to make the team at this point. So that's an interesting group to watch as well throughout the preseason.
Yeah, and Galladay was out there and just missing on some plays.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Tony and Robinson might be the guys that lead this team in receptions. And then the rookie tight end is clearly the starter too, Ferguson.
Yeah, and Tony's hurt, and
yeah,
Abel didn't really have any specifics on what that injury is. So, Wandale and Tony, the ones you get excited about, but, still don't know what the usage is and don't even know how good the offense is going to be with Daniel Jones either. So we'll see. Giants. All right, let's move on to the rest of the weekend here. We've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, preseason week 1 action. And guess what, Matt? You can bet on any of those games at BetOnline, the number one source for all of your odds, lines, and games this football season. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. How about this one? The Los Angeles Chargers are favored to be the last team to lose a game if everything went like the bettors think they were going to. So if the favorites win the game, the Los Angeles Chargers will be the last team to lose a game, and the Atlanta Falcons will be the last team to win their first game. So that's not super surprising, I guess. And the last undefeated team, 5-1 odds for it to be the Chargers, 6-1 odds for it to be the Buccaneers. And you got to go down to 100-1 odds for some of these other teams: the Falcons, Panthers, Bears, Lions, Texans, Jaguars, Jets, and Seahawks.
Well, that's pretty cool. That's even offered. I've never heard of such a thing in terms of betting. Pretty good for the survivor community out there. They should take note of this stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's not just NFL football too at BetOnline. There's tons of other ways to bet and have fun. There's even Vegas casino games, poker, and blackjack if that's your thing. Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, golf, live in-game betting. You can even get scores and information, because it's not just about betting. You want to be well-fed that information to make those bets at BetOnline. So get over to the website today. Use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action at BetOnline, where the game starts. Here we go. Friday football action. Let's start with two of those teams that are long shots this year. The Falcons at the Detroit Lions. What are you looking for in this game, man?
I'm really nerding out here, but I'm excited. I'm home. I'm not in a hotel room. I am going to be in my lazy boy watching some stuff tonight, just kind of seeing the fam. I think we're getting a pizza, just being home. And before tomorrow, I'm going to go to the Steeler game, blah, blah, blah. And I think this game's awesome. That's the NFL Network game. It's at 6:00. It's before all the others. And part of it's because when I was in my hotel room the other night, I watched the first Hard Knocks of the Lions. And man, I know that Campbell gets this reputation of knee-biting, tough guy, former, big, strong tight end, 6'5", 250. I'm falling in love with the guy through Hard Knocks. It's only one episode, but they went live 2 or 3 times. I mean, they had a full-on Lions versus Lions scrimmage, tackle to the ground, play your heart out. And then they had at least one other segment where they were live, pads, full-blown tackling. So this team is balls to the walls, jump in the deep end. They have a lot of talent all of a sudden. Like, I think they're going to come out guns a-blazing. And then I look at Atlanta and think this is going to be one of the more fun teams too, because they stink and they need everyone to play as much as possible. I want to see Ritter, just like we saw Willis last night, Drake London, get all those young guys that they're counting on a lot of snaps. And if you're you suffer an unfortunate injury from one of these teams, I don't think you'll win the Super Bowl either way, so their season sort of really starts tonight.
That's what I was going to say about this game, especially with the Falcons, because there's so many
right.
Ritter to London. Hopefully they play a lot, because that would be fun to see that start to build there. And you don't want to overdo it with some of these guys, but you want to see them out there. And we saw the rookie quarterbacks play a ton on Thursday night. So I hope that continues into Friday. And I think we are going to see a lot of that. With the Lions, unfortunately, we're not going to get to see Jameson Williams until next year's preseason potentially. But you mentioned the tackling to the ground. I don't know what it's been like at Steelers camp where you were. I was watching 49ers camp, and the 49ers haven't tackled anybody to the ground since the NFC Championship game they lost. Like, this will be the first time on Friday night against the Green Bay Packers. And so to hear a team this day and age actually going through that intensely,
right?
It gets you excited on one side of things, but there's a reason why teams aren't doing that anymore. But they haven't had any big injuries, so that's a good thing. And maybe they'll be more prepared when the season starts than some other teams, because we've seen some slow starts recently in the NFL.
Yeah, and Campbell addressed the team after that first practice where they were tackling to the ground, and he was almost in tears. I mean, he was really cool about, hey, I know you guys, some of you guys gave me a side eye when I told you we're going live. And he said, we've just done a lot of homework on this with our sports science people, and we think that some live tackling needs to happen before the first game to truly be ready. Where a lot of the league, like the Rams, who won the Super Bowl, Lions picked second in the draft last year, second in the draft last year. The Rams would have been 32nd. They don't do anything. And they've been the healthiest team in the league since McVay's been there. So I find it interesting that all these different teams are going to view the preseason differently. And a lot of it depends where you're at as a team. And the other thing, too, that I think is really interesting is it's really, I don't say the second, but also the first year of truly only 3 preseason games, because we have this gap after the third one until the first week. Like, will teams treat this like a live event, or will they sit? I just think all the coaches, there's not a consensus around the league like there used to be my whole life when there was 4. Everyone played their starters in week 3. The fourth game was a total throwaway unless you're just trying to make the team. So I find it interesting how all these teams, play their players. I think there's a lot of ambiguity there.
The Lions favored by 2.5. Who you got, Matt? No, just kidding. We are not going through the Lions in these games. Let's move on to the Browns and Jaguars. And the big news in this one is Deshaun Watson is going to play, and they've got to get him ready to play at some point. And especially not knowing if he's going to be out for the season, they got to get him ready for potentially week 7, week 9. He said they won't push they won't push it if it's an 8-game suspension, which is them trying to say, please give us an 8-game suspension, I think. So, but we'll get to see it for the first time. Deshaun Watson, first time on the field in a while, first time in a Browns uniform.
And I was listening to an interview with a Browns beat reporter, and this shouldn't shock anybody, that just said, Deshaun is just so much better. The offense is so much better when he's out there in practice. He looks as good as ever. So football-wise, I've missed watching him. I think he's a tremendous athlete, a tremendous player. And the league is better when he's out there slinging it and making his teams better. So why wouldn't they play him? You know, I mean, he's gonna miss at least 6. It sounds like at least 8, probably the whole year. But that's interesting to me too. Is well, I get Brissett ready, but I got to teach this team that it's Watson's team, and he needs to throw some too. I assume Lawrence will play. So my bet is these two we're talking about right now, these 2 games, Atlanta at Detroit and Cleveland at Jacksonville, will be the most entertaining games of the whole week.
When did ATN get injured last year? Because is this the first time we're going to see Lawrence and ATN on the field together? Because
I'm
ATN
almost certain
able to play as well.
Yeah. I think you're correct about that. Yeah.
Yeah, that happened in camp before the preseason games for ATN, right? Yeah.
And remember, this is the Jags' second preseason game. Them and the Raiders already have one in the books. So, we'll see. But we'll see Walker, I'm sure,
Yeah, we already saw Walker in the first game. I mean, he showed that long arm, and he showed some ability. So I'm excited to see that. And Lawrence and ATN. So that's going to be really fun there. And there's a ton of Walker. We got another first rounder in Devin Lloyd, who I don't think played in the first one. Muma, the 3rd round linebacker. So tons of players to watch on the Jacksonville side. And with the Cleveland Browns, who's going to be the other receivers after Amari Cooper? So David Bell, the 3rd rounder. That's going to be fun to watch for me.
I think he's banged up. I need to double check that, but I'm sure the Peoples Jones and Schwartzes of the world all need to get some reps too. Do you think you play Cooper at least with Watson? I think there's a lot to unpeel with how the coaches play their dudes. Not necessarily how they play, but in terms of what they think of. You're not going to throw Watson out there behind the second offensive line. So you might as well give him Amari. I just think that stuff's interesting.
So looking up the Bell injury, it's unclear. It's unknown, undecided whether or not he's going to play. So he could potentially play.
Okay.
If it's undecided, usually they first preseason game, they'll decide not to have him play is probably my guess. That's a good, like Amari Cooper's the type of player you probably would never want to play in the preseason. You play him as little as possible. He's that sort of veteran status, but new team, new quarterback, you kind of got to get him in there. And you almost want to get him in there with both quarterbacks too. This is a tough one, how you play this for the Browns.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that's going to be my biggest takeaway in terms of when we get together Monday was how do these coaches decide on usage? And I think if you pull back the tea leaves, you can understand, New York wants to play their guys, or the Giants. Well, sure. They should. I'm sure Atlanta and Detroit's going to play their guys. Cleveland's very unique this year. We're about to talk about Arizona at Cincy. Without Burrow, I bet the Bengals play nobody. Like that's going to be a snooze fest to no end.
Yeah, let's get to that. Cardinals at Bengals, and how do you play this one if you're the Bengals? And is there anybody exciting to watch there? Because this might be one of those that I don't flip over too much. And apologies on Monday when we come back if we don't have much to add to this game, because what is there going to be? If there's no Chase, no Higgins, or very little, right, and no Burrow, but maybe you have to see Brandon Allen with those guys in case Burrow's somehow not able to play this season and gets hurt. So you have to build something between Brandon Allen and the rest of the group if he's going to be the starter at some point.
There's no way I'm playing Chase or Higgins. No way.
Yeah.
Especially Higgins coming back from an injury as well. I think you just get out of this game if you're Cincy. I'm like, sure, Kyler plays. I wouldn't play Connor. I wouldn't play Hot. I mean, I always joke about Arizona. They're old and little. Like, I don't want any of those guys in harm's way. I think this is going to be like the most boring game of the night. And, for you, Atlanta, Detroit comes on at 6 Eastern tonight. Your Niners play at 8:30 Eastern. Like, this one's going to be probably forgotten and down the pecking order,
I'm going to check in on Dax Hill and Cam Taylor-Britt. We'll see where they're up and see how they're doing.
Like
they might get a little bit of run. No Jesse Bates either. So, yeah, might see a lot of Dax Hill in this one.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Arizona Cardinals.
I don't know. The linebackers from the last 2 drafts.
Yeah, neither one of the teams it could be very exciting in this one, right?
Right. I mean, you even playing a Rondell Moore, like probably, but not a ton.
The Rondell show. Put him in your DFS lineups because he could get the ball in a few different ways. Make a big run after the catch. Jets at Eagles. New York Jets at Eagles. Jets is another one sort of like the Falcons, where they've got to build some chemistry. They've got a lot of young talent. So there's going to be tons of players to watch in this game and the debut potentially of A.J. Brown with the Eagles.
Yeah, and I haven't studied all these. I'm sure most of these coaches did a press conference yesterday kind of addressing what their plan is. So forgive me if I haven't went and watched 32 press conferences to see who they're playing on August 12th. But if I'm the Jets, I'm definitely playing Wilson. playing him probably with Elijah and Garrett Wilson a fair amount. Dwayne Brown certainly won't play, though. Like that's one of the problems. I mean, that's one of the issues is some of these teams like Cleveland or the Steelers or, someone that has multiple quarterbacks that they want to get real reps for. It's hard to put out a second string, third string offensive line that doesn't get your quarterback killed and you can still get a real read on what they are.
Yeah, that's a big one. If the quarterback is going to play, everyone else has to play because you have to support him and you have to protect him, first of all. And you can't evaluate quarterbacks if good lines aren't out there. We've seen that before where there's a quarterback competition and the starting offensive line plays the first half of the game because they need to have the starting line in front of both the quarterbacks that are competing.
Right. Like with the Browns, I'm sure they're going to protect their massive investment in Watson with their number one O-line. But I don't want to throw Brissett out there in the third series, but with a bunch of, backups, and he's going to start week one, and I don't want him losing his confidence, taking unnecessary hits. So it's a real balancing act.
I'm just excited to see that Jets on offense. Zach Wilson, see if Garrett Wilson plays even later into the game. Elijah Moore, seen some highlights from camp. Breece Hall, see how some of these guys look. Not even so much Hall, get the running backs out of the game early. But Garrett Wilson is the one I'm really going to pay to watch, and he should be in a situation where he plays a lot in this game, or at least plays an entire quarter, multiple series.
You threw out Dax Hill for the last game. I mean, Sauce Gardner to me is going to be exciting too. 6'3", does he lock down one of these receivers early in the game? We'll see. If I'm the Eagles, I don't think I'm playing many guys though.
Yeah, Carl Lawson definitely won't play, I'm sure.
Right.
But Jermaine Johnson, an important piece that goes, because he was the last of the first rounders for the Jets, but that's a really important piece. They need that edge rush for Robert Saleh's defense. So Lawson needs to be healthy, and Jermaine Johnson needs to be the real deal for that defense.
Yeah, I mean, those guys need to start showing up, Sauce, Johnson, those type of guys. So the Jets have a lot more to play for, in my opinion. If I'm the Eagles, I'm definitely not playing. I know Kelsey's banged up, but a lot of those type of guys, sit them. I have bigger things in mind if I'm the Eagles.
You mentioned the 49ers Packers. I'm going to be locked in on this one because I have to and I'm paid to, but this is one of the better games of Friday night for sure, at least to start, because it's going to be Jordan Love versus Trey Lance, and they're both starting. And so that's
first round picks at least, right? Yeah.
And that's with the price of admission right there.
Yeah. I mean, that's a fun way of looking at it, is a guy like Jordan Love, Willis, Ritter, that really probably won't get opportunities for a little while. Love's the best example in the whole league. He's been in the league, 3-4 years, and we still have hardly seen the guy. Maybe he's good, maybe.
He might start showing that. And he might need to show it for other teams because he'll play a lot in this preseason, and reports have been good that he's taken that third-year leap in camp. So we'll get to see it in the live-action game now.
Yeah, and even just to regress one game back, I mean, if Minshew really lights it up, maybe the Browns say, we'll go after him. Or if, a quarterback gets hurt, that go after, make an offer for somebody like him,
And by the way, so we talked about Malik Willis, and he's raw coming out of college, and he needs reps, right? And he plays a lot in preseason. Trey Lance still needs a lot of reps too. There's a stat I threw out yesterday on Twitter, and it's kind of a mind-blowing stat. Last year, the leader in pass attempts in the NFL was Tom Brady, 719 attempts. I mean, that's a huge amount of attempts, the most in Brady's career too, so it's like kind of an outlier. It's a big number, but when you compare
17 game season,
it's his 22nd year in the NFL. He's got 21 years of experience in the NFL before that too, right? But just last year alone, Tom Brady's attempts, he's attempted more passes last year, Tom Brady, than Trey Lance has in his life, including NFL, college, and high school.
Wow. I mean, how you might have, I don't know if you even know this off the top of your head, but how many passes has Lance thrown in the last 2 years? It's like 70 or something, right? Yeah.
In the last 2 years, 70, or no, in the last 2 years, a little under 100, because he had the one college game, 2 pro starts, and then in a couple other appearances in the NFL. 71 NFL attempts last year. In 4 years,
Jordan Love's no different.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And in 4 years, it's 318 plus 71. So yeah, just 389. He's had 389 attempts in 4 years. Trey Lance.
Wow. And I don't have a lot of concerns about him.
His high school team ran the ball 90% of the time too. So he didn't throw the ball a lot in high school, which is why he was so under recruited.
It's funny. We've mentioned a couple of these guys, Love, Lance, Watson. They haven't hardly played.
It's crazy. They need reps. And so how are you going to get reps without playing in some games? So you just got to go for it.
Yeah, right. And I hope they stay healthy, surround them with the best guys you can. So, yeah, that'll be fun to watch those guys because they need work in real games.
Thanks again, everybody, for making Peacock and Williamson, by the way, your first listen every day. For your second listen, check out Locked On Fantasy Football. Fantasy expert Vinny Iyer brings 20 years of NFL experience and a unique angle to give you the moves no one else has. Get ready for those fantasy drafts with Locked On Fantasy Football and, of course, Locked On Dynasty Football if you are a Dino Leaguer with Mr. Matt Williamson and a host of others right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. All right, getting into Saturday, we've got Chiefs at Bears. This is an interesting one because the Bears have a reason to play a lot of guys. The Chiefs probably don't.
I would assume so. I'll be real curious. How much do you play Fields, or do you save him to some degree? He's got a little more experience than Love and Lance and those guys, but not with the staff, So, you would have to play that offensive line quite a bit if you're the Bears. Maybe it's a lot more Herbert than Montgomery. If I'm Kansas City, I'm not anxious to put any of my top guys in harm's way at all.
Definitely no top guys. Sky Moore, though.
No, that's a good one. Yeah.
Hopefully Sky Moore does get in there a little bit, even if it's with Henney, that's okay because I want to see if he's somebody that can really make an impact and break through with that other unit of Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Mecole Hardman, and Juju Smith-Schuster, because any one of those guys could be big this year for the Chiefs. But I kind of would like to see Sky Moore over any of them.
Me too. Yeah. I think he's the highest ceiling of all those guys.
Trent McDuffie should play some snaps. The fourth rounder, Joshua Williams at cornerback. So there's some guys on defense as well. Brian Cook, the second round safety. So yeah, it's all about the rookies, really. It's getting those guys, seeing guys for the first time in their new uniforms. That's what it's all about.
Which brings us to this next game, Carolina at Washington. I would play Wentz. I would play Baker. I'd play Icky. I would play Dotson. I don't think I'd play like McLaurin or DJ Moore, a couple of those guys, but with all the turmoil and changes, especially new quarterbacks, this could be a fun game to watch too. You might have two NFL quarterbacks dueling it out at least for a quarter or so, and then you might get Corral versus Howell to finish it up. That's not bad.
I like it. Yeah. That might be a second half worth watching there. And I don't know about Wentz just because of the injury history,
right?
But that aside, with the new team, and Baker came late too, to the Panthers. So Baker's got to get in there and play a little bit. He definitely needs.
I would assume so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Colts at Bills. Josh Allen. The Bills are a team that you probably don't need to see a lot from. Matt Ryan is such a veteran player. I know he's a new quarterback for the Colts, but would be probably not smart to be putting him out there a whole bunch. So yeah, I could see this game being a snoozer with a lot of guys resting most of this one.
Right. I mean, maybe Rousseau's fun to watch, or Kwity Paye, or somebody like that, but you're not playing Von Miller. You're not playing Quentin Nelson. I'm not putting Tre'Davious White out there, Gilmore, so I think this is a snooze fest here.
If you're not putting Nelson out there, you're not putting your quarterback, Matt Ryan, out there either, right? So, yeah, just go straight to the second unit. Maybe Cook?
Yeah, I would think he plays some.
Yeah.
But I'm not putting Diggs out there. Like, Cook might be their best offensive player in this game.
Yeah. See what his usage looks like. See if he can hang as an every down type of back as he making plays between the tackles.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Seahawks at your Steelers, Matt. This is all about. Look, there's not going to be much fun to watch on the Steelers or on the Seahawks side of thing, but when you got a first round,
played everyone, it would be that fun.
Exactly. I guess there's because Geno Smith's going to play, so you're putting the quote unquote starter out there. Is there a legit training camp competition here, or is it just Geno Smith that's won that job? Maybe see if there's something there that could be fun to watch. But really, on the other side, it's all about Kenny Pickett. Let's go see some Kenny Pickett and George Pickens too, by the way, who and in fact both receivers have been really good in Steelers camp, right? Both rookies.
It sounds like Geno's going to be the starter probably opening day. Seattle, I would assume, doesn't play Lockett or Metcalf, and they don't have a ton that I'm excited to watch. I feel people wondering what to expect from the Steelers. I'm certain they're going to rest all their defensive stars. I mean, Minka, Watt, Cam, and even a Miles Jack or an Ogunjobi. Like, those guys aren't playing. A couple dudes have had some injuries, or Deontay Johnson, Najee Harris, Freiermuth, Claypool. I'm not sure those guys will play, but Trubisky's going to start. Rudolph and Pickett will play plenty. So I imagine the number 1 O-line, which is a worrisome spot, we talked about that yesterday, will be out there quite a bit. Here's the sleeper of all sleepers. There's an undrafted free agent running back named Warren. He's kind of built like Maurice Jones-Drew. He may be the DFS pickup of all time. If you're sick enough to play preseason DFS, go look into Warren for the Steelers. He's very impressive.
There we go. All
there
right.
You go.
The MGD of preseason football. MJD
exactly.
won some games for me back in the day. Some titles for me back in the day in fantasy football. So I'm a big fan of MJD. The Dolphins are not going to start Tua. Tom Brady is like on a family vacation in the middle of training camp, which is super weird.
We didn't mention that. That's very strange. Right. Like, I got a wedding. I'm going to take off for a while. Or what do you do?
This is just like a weird Florida vacation with the Dolphins and Buccaneers. I don't know what to expect here, but I probably won't be tuning in.
No, hot, nasty. I'm sure those bottom of the roster guys will be out there giving it their all while, Mike Evans is sipping water on the sidelines talking about the golf he played in Armstead and, maybe you see Bridgewater. I don't know. I mean, Trask might be sort of fun to watch.
Not even a bunch of like high profile rookies that I'm excited to see in this game.
No, right. Neither one had a first round pick.
Right. It wasn't how the offseason went for either one of these teams.
No, I mean, this is going to be low on the list of viewing pleasure.
Saints at Texans. Here we go. This could be
okay. Yeah.
Right. Two teams that have a little bit of a new look going on here. I'm sure we'll see some Davis Mills. They've got to build whatever kind of rapport they can with the Texans to get going in and being competitive this year. And they do have a new head coach, even though the head coach was around. But I'm probably going to be looking at the rookies again in this game. Particularly the rookie 4th round running back for the Texans, because he's a fantasy darling.
That's what I was going to say. Him and Nico Collins, some young guys I have a little bit of fantasy hope for. Brevin Jordan. I doubt Brandon Cooks plays. You would think the Saints rest most guys, but maybe Olave gets out there. And
if Marlon Mack and Rex Burkhead are in there, like, what's the usage? I'm definitely looking at that backfield because Dameon Pierce is the one you want to win the job if you're playing fantasy football. So that's kind of the angle I'm looking at watching this game. Of course, there's Jalen Petrie and Derek Stingley. I don't know how much those guys are going to play because they're projected to be, first team players right out of the gate. But Jalen Petrie, especially because he's moving positions in the NFL. He's playing legit safety now instead of that star position. So I want to see how that transition goes. So I think both sides of the ball could be interesting.
Good one. Yeah. And Saints, I'm thinking they have so many stars and not a ton of depth that I would be working on depth and that type of thing as opposed to worrying about the developing young players.
Yeah, you got to get Penning ready to go if he's going to be day one left tackle. And the other first rounder, Chris Olave, there's reasons to play both those guys, but injury concerns might outweigh it at some point for the Saints. So we'll see.
Right. Yeah, Olave and Penning are ones to watch.
Cowboys at Broncos, and the Denver Broncos already have some injury concerns, so they are, and I think I saw where they were going to sit guys. I'm going to double check right now, but
I thought I saw that as well. And while you're checking, this is kind of like the Miami at Tampa game where this is great conditioning. If I'm Dallas, go up in the light air, the thin air of Denver and run these guys like crazy, especially the offensive and defensive linemen, really get their, get them in football shape is how I would handle this game. But I can't imagine either one of these teams playing Judy, Sutton, Wilson, Lamb, certainly not Zach Martin or Tyron Smith or Micah Parsons. I mean, like, we might be straining to find quality players here to see in this one too.
Courtland Sutton just had an injury too. Didn't he have just like a minor injury last week? But I'm looking at it right now, and it reminds me of the report I saw. Yeah, so basically, we don't know yet if Russell Wilson and those guys are going to play. They haven't released. Okay. It's sort of a mystery. And Russell Wilson said he's ready to go if they wanted to. So new quarterback, maybe that'd be fun if they did play at least as a couple of series or something with the first team, and you get to see Russell Wilson throwing to Jerry Jeudy and those guys.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you play a series since he's new, and I'm sure you and I would like to see Russell Wilson running around in a Broncos uniform.
Yeah, just see what it looks like.
Right.
Let's ride. Rams at Chargers. We already talked about how the Rams don't
Oh.
play much in the preseason, and the Chargers might also just say, you know what, we're at home. Let's just take a week off here for the first teamers in Inglewood, California.
Yeah, they're both at home. And remember, Staley comes from the Rams, so I think these are maybe the two teams in the league that'll play their top guys the least in the preseason, let alone for this one. So this is backup galore. Isaiah Spiller, maybe. I'm reaching here.
Yeah, it might be a little bit of a reach there, but who knows? Someone could come to the forefront. This is the late game Friday night, so maybe the end of that game, there's something worth watching for you sickos that are still watching at whatever midnight Eastern time at the fourth quarter of the final Saturday night preseason game. And then the last game on the slate for this weekend is Vikings Raiders, second preseason game for the Las Vegas Raiders. And we might actually start seeing some more Raiders out there. Do we see the first unit? Do we see Carr and Devontae Adams for the first time?
I don't know. That'll be interesting. I'm curious. I would think Minnesota is going to shut down Jefferson and Thielen and Cook and, Cousins and those guys. But it is the second one for Vegas. They played Josh Jacobs in the first one. Maybe you get Carr out there, a series with Adams, kind of like Wilson. There's some newness there. Go play a series. If it's 3 and out, maybe you throw back out for another one. Overall, though, I don't think you see Chandler Jones or Crosby or Daniel Hunter or any of those guys either. But maybe because it's a standalone game, it'll be a little more fun to watch, and all eyes will be on it, and we'll have something to talk about. But again, I'm just excited that there's games on to look at any of these games and really target one guy to study is going to be difficult.
I thought the most interesting thing I heard this week, if we're talking about the Raiders, was Devontae Adams saying that he was learning things from Hunter Renfrow as a wide receiver. And I thought that was fascinating. First of all, that he can just say that. There was a clip of them getting in an Uber, and instead of getting the Uber XL for big football players, they had a normal size Uber, and Hunter Renfrow is the littlest guy. He had to sit in the front seat, and he's all like bunched up in the front seat. It was really funny. And it was Carr, and it was Devontae Adams, and it was Hunter Renfrow. And it just seemed like they were having a good time. Like it seemed like they were in a really good place in the locker room, at least. So I just want to throw that out there more so than
interesting. Yeah.
I'm interested in watching in this football game.
And Vegas went through so much during the season last year with the Gruden stuff and, the Ruggs stuff. It does feel like they're getting along and in a happier place,
Isaiah Spiller for the Chargers. That was the other one I wanted to throw.
Yeah, not a bad call.
He'll play at least.
Right. And he's not bad.
All right, good stuff. And whatever does jump out to us this weekend during those games, maybe it's the players we thought we were going to be looking for. Maybe it's somebody else that pops. We'll have it covered for you on Monday, and everything else going on in the National Football League. Back with you then after preseason week 1 right here, Peacock and Williamson.